Good evening, Deborah here. Mark has already gone off to sleep, and I'm going to be doing this segment on my own. And we're sorry it's been 9 days since our last major video, but this was a strange couple of weeks, actually. And I'll share bits and pieces of that. One of the things we've been doing is trying to figure out what to do with this channel. Are we going to continue with this? Are you even interested? Is anyone interested in what two people who are retired and living in France, who are not French native speakers, how do you feel about this? We don't have anything exciting like a chateau to show you. There are some fabulous channels on YouTube that are British people or American people who have bought a chateau and they're renovating them, and that's wonderful. We watch them, we certainly do. But here's the thing. Our renovations have just about come to an end. We have a few more things that we're tweaking, little fine-tuning things, but we've run out of things to show you except for going back and doing some wrap-up episodes. So we're not a renovation channel, all right? This is a lifestyle channel. This is the day in the life of two retired people who live in France. Are you interested in that? We really do need to know. And I asked that question in the short that I posted to let people know where we'd gone. Are you interested in this? So far, okay. Notes, and I am not going to get through all of these, I can tell you right now. I made far too many notes for one episode. So this will be a part 1 and part 2. Currently, in our playlists, we have daily life, cycling and backpacking, villages and towns, and renovation or restoration. And as I've just said to you, we don't have that much left to show you with renovation and restoration. Will you be willing to follow along and just watch us as we live our daily life? We would like to have before, let's see, we need within 6 months, seriously, we're on a 6-month countdown now. We need 1,000 subscribers and we need 4,000 watch hours, and we are nowhere near that, all right? We have about 220 subscribers and we have about 500 or 600 hours of watch time, so we're a long way off. So please, like and subscribe, and if you're watching this, subscribe. It makes a difference. Watch the videos all the way through. The algorithm counts everything that you do. And share this. If you're enjoying what we're doing, share it with people so that we can grow. It does matter. It really does matter. Let's talk about some of the crazy things that happened over the last 10 days that kept us from making another video that we would have had somewhere between Friday and Sunday. The French government continues to change things all the time. The world is changing. You know that. The world is absolutely crazy. And in the last week and a half, France 24 aired a very ill-considered documentary. A little segment, just a little segment. I think it was like 9 minutes long. And they said that everyone who was a migrant here had to pass a certain language test to be able to continue and get your renewal. Our renewal for our residency visa is at the end of the year. We have to apply again. And then we get it for either another 5 or 10 years, depending on whatever they think we're worthy of getting. And they never mentioned the fact that people who came in under what was called the WARP card, W-A-R-P, withdrawal agreement residency permit, did not have to say that. So there was a lot of stress all over France. There's tens of thousands of us here, possibly well over, I think they said at one point, an article I read said that there were between 100 and 200,000 of us who are English speakers, British or American or Canadian or Australian. And we came in under a different agreement. We're not migrants from other countries who've had to come in, prove your income, prove your insurance ability to support yourself and not be a burden on the country and all of that. But they didn't mention that in the documentary. There was nothing that said that. So here I am online one night, again, sleepless, staying up until very late, doing all the research, trying to find out to what level do we have to pass a French lesson and a French test. And it turns out that that doesn't apply to us. We've got like the golden ticket because Mark was born in England, even though he grew up in New Zealand and Australia. And we came in under his British passport and my Australian passport. So no, we don't have to take that test. We have friends who've asked us why we didn't go ahead and try to be French citizens. This is being very honest. We wouldn't qualify. We don't speak enough French. I have the basics of French. I have enough French to do meetings at the prefecture, meetings at government offices, to do shopping. So does Mark. But Mark is dyslexic. He can't read or write French, so he would never pass a French exam. I would probably barely bluster my way in. I had French in school when I was very young, but I've arrived with like 1950s, 1960s French. It's not the same kind of French now. It applies when you go to a prefecture and you have an official meeting with someone. That's fine. They can understand everything you're saying. They understand me very well. But if I tried to talk to people on the street, contemporary French is very different. Very different. So if you're ever even thinking about coming over here and moving here, you really need to have fairly good French, and we didn't. Because we lived here before and we got by with the French we had, we didn't think we needed to get any better. We did pay for, an expensive language course, and we have tried. We have very much tried. Like I said, Mark is dyslexic. It doesn't stick. Bless his heart. He's tried so hard, and it doesn't stick. And in my case, I think it's because I'm older now, and I've got the basics of the French, but it doesn't stick. I learned something new, and I told someone recently, I said, the words go in, and then the next day they fall back out again. I don't retain that. I don't retain what I have. So that's one part of the French exam that you have to take to be a citizen. You also have to know basics about the society, the history, and all of that, and you have to be able to carry on a fluent conversation with the person who is administering the exam, and I would glitch, completely glitch. Mark couldn't do it at all, and I would probably glitch because my knowledge of French is just at the most basic level. So I'm enthusiastic about living here. I love living here. But no, I would not pass an exam to be a citizen. So that was one stress factor we had. Another one. Because of all the nonsense that's been going on, the very sad situation with Ukraine for the last few years, and the fact that Putin is so horrendously aggressive. I promised you at one point on camera that I would not discuss politics. You know what? That's a give back. I'm reeling that back in. I'm going to occasionally say something because if you don't like what I say, don't subscribe here. I mean it. I absolutely mean it. Do not subscribe. If you want me to never open my mouth and just be all cute and perky and, No, I'm not going to do that. If I think somebody's engaging in massive fuckwittery, and I do think that's been happening for the last few months, and it's originating in the United States, it's spreading around the world, it's making the European countries and their leaders very, very stressed, and it's making Putin more aggressive. So, the next French stressor we had this past week was, we heard that they were going to issue, and it's very much like what the Scandinavian countries have done, they issued booklets to tell you how to be prepared, to prepare for war. So we're going to get a booklet. It will be delivered to the French households. It will tell you how much food you need to store, how much water per person you need to store, how many medications you need to have on hand, dressings. It will give you the radio stations to tune to. This is horrifying to me. I lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis when I was a child in the United States. Do I want to live like that again? No. It was horrendous for my parents and for all of the friends, the family friends we had. Everybody was frightened all the time. I don't want to live like that with that kind of fear. I don't like where I see the world happening. The rise of fascism, the rise of the far-right movement is very distressing. It's a very 1930s vibe here in Europe right now. So I am not going to give you little, suggestions on how to move to France and do... No, absolutely not. No place in the world is safe. Be realistic. Nowhere is safe. How do you think the Canadians feel when Trump says he's going to come across the border and turn it into the 51st state? Nowhere is safe. All right? So we've been listening to the news. On occasion, we do not watch the evening news all the time, but it sifts in. You can't avoid it. You cannot avoid it. So we've been feeling the world. I more so than Mark. Mark feels it, and he just sort of shuts down and goes in the back in his studio, and he'll do woodworking, or he'll cut up boards and create something. That's fine. I internalize it all. And I start doing planning and trying to figure out what to do about the situation. The next thing that was part of our stressors in the last week and a half is Mark fell down the concrete stairs that go out into the garden twice, not once, twice. And all of a sudden he realized, and this is part of a greater knowingness that's happened, he realized he wasn't able to do the same things and recover as quickly as he did before. And ever since he's turned 60 recently, this past year, he's noticed it sneaks up on you. You know how you always think you're going to be able to do all the things you used to do, and you can't anymore? It's a horrible realization, because in your mind, in your memory, you still, unless you've got Alzheimer's, you feel exactly like you did before, and you think you can do anything. You think you can, stand up straight out of a chair just so easily, or you can go up and down the stairs so easily, and everything's fine. No, it sneaks up on you. It really does. So, and as fit as Mark is, because he cycles, and up until recently, he does wall climbing, and he lifts weights out in the weight room in the back. But he's had some real issues with the getting older thing. So have I. Much more so because I'm older than he is. Doesn't matter how much older, but I'm older than he is. So yes, I feel every bit of my age some days. We both get up and we don't have the energy that we used to. And I mean, even energy from 2 or 3 years ago, we don't have that anymore. And it's been a bit of a shock. And we're not enjoying this whole thing. As far as staying fit, and you're supposed to keep moving so that you can stay fit and all that. I haven't mentioned on here before, and I'm going to go ahead and mention it. So, I have mobility issues, and I'm not going to turn the camera around right now because I don't want, it's in a nice steady upright place. I don't want to move it around much. I'll show you another time. I have a mobility scooter. If I need to even go down to the end of the street, down several blocks, down on the right, anyway, just a few blocks from our house is the pharmacy. If we have to go down there to get, the flu shot. We got the flu shot last year at the end of the year. I have to go in a mobility scooter. I cannot walk that far. I can walk to the car. I can walk on this very level surface of the floor in the house, but I can't walk on cobblestone streets. I can't get up and down off of curbs. I have one of those little walking sticks with 3 legs. When I stand up and put my shoes back on to go walk to the back of the house, I have to have one of those sticks to get myself up. When we go anywhere, including the garden center or somewhere, in the back of our little car, we have one of those, they call it a rollator over here. I have no idea what it's called in the rest of the world. And it's a little walking frame. It's a very sturdy one, actually. And it turns, you can turn around and you can sit on it if you need to, or if you need to walk with it, it's got wheels. Okay, I've got all of those things just to help me get around. So I am nowhere near as nimble as Mark is. And he's watched me, we've been together for 31 years. He's watched me get older, and I don't think for some reason he ever thought it was going to happen to him, bless his heart. So it really shook him up. It really did. It shook him up, falling, and he had on rubber boots, rubber bottom boots. And he hit a slippery patch on something, and he just went down hard and cracked the back of his head, cracked his arm, and he's lucky he didn't break his arm. He really is. So we've had feeling the world and feeling our age. And it's been a bit to absorb. It's been a bit hard. So the reason I continue to ask, and this is going to be, the third time I've asked you, are you interested in our lifestyle? Just in how do we have a nice approach to life most of the time. We're happy people. We don't get up and moan and go, oh my God, another day. How are we going to get through another day? Oh, it's so dramatic. No, we're not that kind of people, all right? We get up, we're happy together, we have our own little routines, and if you're happy watching us do these things, we do art, we do crafts. Mark does the cooking. I gave up on the cooking a few years ago, and Mark does the cooking because he likes to eat. And we just make the best of life, and we have a good time. Are you interested in this? Please comment and tell us if you're interested in this. Because if you're not, what's the point? We don't need this as a hobby. However, having said that, there are days where we're both a little grumpy. Oh, I come downstairs, and I'm not religious about doing it every day. I do it a few times a week. I've got a recumbent bike where I can sit down and ride the bike. Part of the reason we've aged a little faster than we might have, and again, we haven't talked about this before, we both have long COVID, and we can't stand up for very long. When you see Mark riding his bicycle, he does that very well. If he has to stand up for very long, he can't do that anymore. And he hates that. Because I've had mobility issues now for over a decade, it doesn't strike me mentally as much as it does him. And so he's having issues with it. So about the interviewing and being on camera, if I just go out and Shanghai him, you remember when I said that day and he was pinning together the pocket for the back of the bicycle shirt, and I said, I'm going to Shanghai you and ask you some questions. And he doesn't mind that. If I come up and just start talking to him and asking questions, he'll talk. He's happy. If he takes the camera out and has a specific thing he wants to do, he's happy doing that. He is not happy doing what I'm doing, is sitting and just talking to the camera. He doesn't want to do that. It makes him nervous. He overthinks it. He gets stressed. Interview style things are not good for him like that. If it's something that I've got a list and I'm saying, okay, now the next thing we need to cover is that doesn't make him happy. I don't want him to be unhappy. So there are times like this where you're going to see more of me, and there are times where you're going to see a lot more of Mark. And it's because he is much fitter than I am, despite having the long COVID, and we still have days where it feels like someone's buried an axe in the top of our head, or we're off balance, or we're just unwell and can't move around very much. So, all right, bear with us and let us know if you still want to see how we manage. I don't think we're the only people in France who have moved here from other places and are not moving around as well as they did 10, 20, or 30 years ago. So let us know. All right, now, new things. That was going to be under number 1 of the area, new. Unplanned and unwanted retirement. We did not plan to retire. We had not planned to retire. Mark doesn't love, building houses and doing things, but he did it so beautifully. And he had very happy clients. And all of a sudden, he can't do that now. In my case, I've never really talked about all the things I do. I am a writer. I am a book editor and an article editor. I do research-based writing and ghostwriting. I have written for a Nobel laureate several times. I have written speeches that have been given at the United Nations. I have written scholarly articles for doctors that they presented as their own. I had a thriving career up until 2.5 years ago, about 2 years ago. And all of a sudden, everybody went to ChatGPT or some such program. My finest clients, ones that I had worked with for years, just left, absolutely left. And only a few of them bothered to tell me exactly why. And there's one doctor, one surgeon, he's the head of surgery, and he's a lung surgeon, and he said to me, I can't. He said, I can't anymore. He said, the hospital watches every penny we spend for, research and publication. And he said, if we can have some AI thing that gives us 70% accuracy on a written paper, we can get that for a subscription price per year. He said, instead of paying your very well-deserved but high cost of doing writing and editing and research for me. So he said, we're just going to have to switch over to that. I was devastated and shocked and hurt, really hurt. I understood the economics of it, but it had never occurred to me that all of a sudden my client base would just disappear and they would swing over to AI. Now, let me make this very clear. I don't feel sorry for myself. I've had the most wonderful life. I really have. I've had a wonderful career. And I am on so many private groups that we exchange information. 4, 5. That tells you what time it is. It's 5 o'clock in the morning when I'm doing this. And it's because I started to go upstairs to bed a while ago, and I thought, no, go ahead and just do this intro and get this part started, because then you can get to the rest of it. I'm on so many writing groups and editing groups, and there are a lot of young mothers in their 30s and 40s and women in their 50s who are trying to put their children through university. They can barely keep a roof over their head. They're working for 1950s wages. They're writing for less than $1 a word. I'm not in that position, all right? I'm not struggling to that extent. I'm not going to food banks to feed my children or charity shops to put, shoes on their feet and clothes on their bodies. So no, I do not feel sorry for myself. What I do miss, and I do mourn it, I won't lie to you, it's not a happy thing. I mourn a career that I loved. I absolutely loved it. All right? Mark mourns not having something purposeful to get up and do every day. So he's taken over being like the household person. He manages the household. He does the laundry. He does the gardening. Oh, pay attention. When you watch that one about him doing the gardening and he says, well, I'm not the best gardener in the world. He's not, because he doesn't really love it. He does it, but he's doing everything he can to have something to do every day. And it's not purposeful the way it was before, when he had clients who loved what he was doing, and he would, give them consultation ideas, and then they'd put together a house. It's been very hard for him not to have that. It's been very hard for me not to have the writing and the editing and the research. So, in some ways, this channel is a lifesaver for both of us, okay? It gives us something to look forward to. So when we've missed a week, that makes us feel wounded because we've missed a week. And it's not just that we're letting you down, we're letting ourselves down. We really do love doing this, and we hope you are enjoying it too. All right, next thing. Aging, activity, and changed fitness. I'm going to follow Mark around with the camera one day, and I'm going to ask him why he's suddenly so hyper-fixated on fitness. And he is. He is. He does all kinds of, little strange, he's got things around the house that he, like pulls on or pushes on or, pulls himself up on and all that. He's trying to stay fit to keep us going, all right? And to keep himself going too. And to age as well as we can. And we do feel like we probably lost several years by getting COVID and then having long COVID. And there's not a lot of support in France for long COVID. So, all right, energy levels and attitudes. I, in particular, if I have a very low energy level, it affects my attitude about everything. Mark is even worse because he tells me, he says, can you just dial down the perk? And what he means is, I can get up like that, but as soon as I'm moving around, if I had a cup of coffee and whatever, I'm fine. And my daughter said to me one time, Mom, just dial down the perk. And it's like, I get perky and happy and, and he can't. He gets a bit grumpy. So, yeah. Anyway, you don't really want to see grumpy people on camera. So we don't film that. You don't need to be seeing grumpy people on camera. But you also do not need to be seeing artificially happy people. When you see us on camera, and like right now, I'm happy. I'm feeling a little better tonight. I had a shower a little while ago, and I made my notes, and I'm prepared. And, if I have to do this in segments and splice it all together, I'll do that. I did some notes and filmed something about a week ago, and it was about why we changed the focus of what we originally thought we were going to do. I'll see if I can find that footage, and I might edit that into part 2. All right. I've told you about the EU issues. The global issues, I've also touched on how are we affected. Whatever's going on in the United States, where things fall apart, it does affect us over here. It absolutely does affect us. The economics of France are very fragile right now. The economics of Germany, those are the two powerhouses of Europe, France and Germany. And we're all feeling it. We're feeling it in the cost of groceries, we're feeling it in the cost of cars, we're feeling it in the energy costs. All of those things are being impacted by what's happening in the United States with President Trump and that idiot Elon Musk. So you can't think that we live in a bubble. We don't. Europe feels safer, much safer than the United States, but we also have Putin on our doorstep. And that man likes to rattle sabers and let you know how many missiles he has and how big his army is. That's not a nice thing. All right. I'm going to address one more thing, and then I think let me see how much I've got. Oh, goodness. I've done a lot longer than I thought I did. All right. One last thing. You may or may not see us looking for another house. And it's not that we don't love this house. We absolutely love this house. Mark did such a beautiful job on it. All right? But we don't know if it's suitable anymore. The second time Mark fell down the stairs and he had the gash on his arm and blood was spurting everywhere, he said, I'm very close to coming down here and just telling you, sell this effing house. We don't need a house that hurts us. All right? I've had issues for the last several years. Well, we've been here now for 5 years. And it's like, it hurts going up the stairs. I have severe arthritis. And I've also got something in the back of my spine called spondylosis. So I've managed to keep going just out of sheer grit and stick-to-itiveness. But it's not nice to feel like you have to worry every time you take a step. I have to stand at the top of the stairs before I come down. And like, okay, Deborah, you're going to hold here, you're going to hold here, you're going to go down. And I can't just spring down the stairs like I used to. No, absolutely not. I have to be careful so I don't end up and boom onto the tile at the bottom. Mark doesn't need to see me with my, body shattered at the bottom of a set of stairs. And I don't need to be afraid that he's going to do something like that again outside on those concrete stairs. So what we may do, first thing, we have so many friends that are, lovely couples that we like here. Excuse me, I think I did a little burp. Oops, sorry about that. We have friends who have left. A lot of people have, as they've gotten older here in France, they've sold their houses and moved back to the United Kingdom. Partly because I think they miss their grandchildren, and partly because they just want to be closer to their families if there is a global disaster of some kind. I understand that. Other friends that we have here have sold their houses and moved elsewhere in France, where the costs are a little cheaper. You're closer to Spain. The groceries are a lot cheaper in Spain than they are here. But no, I do not want to move to another country and learn another language. We love France. We absolutely love France, and we have no intentions of going anywhere. But we're beginning to wonder, is the house just too much for us? It's quite a lot of rooms, and it's a lot to maintain, and it's a lot of stairs. I hardly ever get to the very top of the house where my art studio is because I've had some issues this winter with just bone pain from the arthritis. So we're wondering, I can make it up one set of stairs, 2 sets of those circular stairs, that's a bit much. We're wondering if we should try and think about moving to either a house that's all on one level or a house that is mainly on one level and just has a few of the bedrooms upstairs. So before we can even do anything about that, we're going to get a couple of estimates from real estate agents here, property agents, whatever you call it, wherever you are in the world watching, and we'll see what we could get for this house, because it would be silly for us to bother anyone. We're not going to be annoying and, looky-loos and out looking at houses if we can't afford it. If we can't afford the property we're looking at, I wouldn't want to do that to anyone. That's just rude. So what we'll do is find out what we could reasonably get for the house, subtract all the costs of settlement, because there's a lot of money that goes back to the government of France every time you sell a house, and then we would see what we could afford. It will probably be another fixer-upper. And I said to Mark, are you willing to do that again? And he said, yes, he is. He wouldn't have been a few years ago. Now that he's starting to feel his age, he says he will. He said he would do that. So if we stay here, we'll figure out a way to move most of the living down to 2 levels. And that's fine too. You adjust. We're very blessed. We have no mortgage. We have a good lifestyle here. And the house is so energy efficient because Mark built it so well. We really do have very low energy costs. But if we found the right thing, and if it had maybe even one of those houses that had a drive-under garage, that he could put a workshop under there instead of having a workshop way out the back. I have a wish list of things I would like. I would love a kitchen where you could look out the window and see the garden. And you can't in this house. I love this house, but there's no garden view in the kitchen. Not at all. I have to swivel around and look through the shears and watch people go by on the street. And that's a bit magical too. I'll tell you about that one day. I'll tell you my story about being a little girl climbing trees and wishing I was one of those astronauts with the bubble-shaped helmet. Yeah, it's another story for another day. So let me check this list. Give me a second. Yeah, house suitability, keep or sell. So if we find out that we could possibly afford a house that was less stairs and less drama, even if it was a renovation project, what we might do then is take the cameras with us and take you along as we look. And you can hear us talk about, ooh, well, yeah, this would be really great, or no, that's absolutely unsuitable. No, we would not. And in truth, this house was such a wreck. I would not do that to Mark again. I would not do that to the state where he had to tear down walls. The ceiling overhead, where I'm sitting, it was all lath and plaster. Do you know what the material was? It was mud. It was mud and plaster. Mud and lath. So this whole room was just, he had to shovel it out, and take it away before he could even start reconstructing and insulating and putting up wallboard. I don't want to do that to him again. So we'll have to see. We may have some of those kind of adventures. And trust me, I will be on my little rollator, or I will be in my little mobility scooter or whatever, so that I'm part of every bit of the looking process. Because that would be fun too, wouldn't it? I hope you're enjoying this so far. Please just let us know if you're willing to keep watching two people getting older in France, just having a daily life. And hopefully not falling down any more stairs, and hopefully not getting any more unnerving news from the French government about this, that, or the other. So I think I'll leave it there. Good to see you all again. I hope you're happy to be back. I hope you're happy to be still following us. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.